I flew from Hong Kong to America to try to climb to high six, but today will be my last session at Commerce before moving on to another casinos in Los Angeles. Stay tuned because I'm going to grade the games and let you know how they compare to the ones back home. Let's jump into the sessions.
Bet it on me, let it ride. Broke white boy, put it all on the line. Lucky me, lit the Sin City on fire. Money on the floor, watch it double 10 times. Bet it on me, let it ride.
Alright, let's jump into the first hand of the session. We're playing 5-10 at Commerce Casino. Normally I do chop blind versus blind because of the flat drop, but this time small blind wants to play. And here we go. Small blind opens to 35. We call on the big blind with ace-3 offsuit. Flop comes jack 6-5 with 2 diamonds. Small blind bets 25. We have the ace of diamond, we are not going anywhere, and we call. Turns a 7 of diamond. Look at the sweet baby there. We hit the nut flush. Blocker. Small blind check to us on this white configuration. I don't think his range has a lot of strong hands like over pairs or jack X. So I bet 50 here, targeting one pair type hand to call once and fold on the river. Feeling made a call and rivers an 8 of spade. Pretty interesting card here because he can have all sort of strikes like jack 9, 9-7 and 2 pairs like 8-7, jack 8. But the thing we can confirm is he doesn't have a flush because people won't stop betting on the turn when their flush get there after they see bet the flop with flush draws. So if we have a flush here, I would bet about pot to target 2 pairs or straight. But now we are bluffing, so I like to overbet, betting 350 into 215, looking for the range fold. I love his chip tricks with his flexible fingers. That's beautiful, and he finds the fold.
It's coaching time.
All right, so this guy bets the flop. We float, fine. Turns a 7 of diamonds, and he checks. Is he capped or uncapped?
Capped.
Do you think this guy's ever folding a jack on the turn, even if he's capped?
No.
So why are we betting $50 here? What size do you think is better here than 50?
120, yeah.
Yeah.
Around pot.
Because like when they're capped, that doesn't mean they're folding. They still have inelastic hands. Let's just blow a bigger pot. The biggest size that a jack's calling. I feel like we're missing value here. And I know I say that we're bluffing, but yes, we're missing value here on the turn because he's never calling on the river.
Big pot alert.
Hello.
Okay, second hand here. We opened for $30 with queen jack offsuit in the cutoff. Our occasional player on the button call. We heads up to a flop which comes 10-9-7 with 2 club. In a single ace pot out of position as pre-flop raiser, I would check my range if I think feeling is likely to step. On this kind of dynamic, wet flop, I believe recreational players are overstepping, and most importantly, they telegraph their hand strength by their sizing. So we check to him, and he bets half pot, 35 into 70. When he chooses this kind of medium size, we have not much clarification on his range. However, we have an open-end straight draw. I like to call and see how it develop on the turn. And turns a king of spade. Look at the sweet baby there. We have the nuts. We check to the button and it bets about pot, 150 into 140. No reason to slow play here because our opponent shows nothing but strength. We check raise to 550, targeting his sets or 2 pair to call. But he immediately shoves all in. We snap call and show our hand, and he shows the same hand. River's a 3 off heart, and we chop it up eventually. On the next hand, we open to $40 in a low jack with my 2 queens. Players in the cutoff, button, and big blind come along, and we are 4 ways to a flop of jack 8-7 with 2 diamonds. Big blind check to us. On this wet dynamic flop with multiple players behind us, what are we doing? Yes, you're right, we are going to check. But why? Recreational players are overstepping, and 2, they telegraph their hand strength by their sizing. We check all the way to the button who bets 60 into 160. Big blind call and actions back to us. First thing here is to ask, what are their ranges? I don't think button chose this 1/3 size with his straight or sets or 2 pairs on this flop, so I think he has hands like jack X or flush draw. And for the button, as he is just calling the $60 bets, I believe he doesn't have a strong hand as well, and we check raise to $300. Targeting hands like pair plus flush draw, pair plus straight draw, jack X, flush draws, those type of hands. Unfortunately, they don't want to battle no more and all fold. Next hand here, we open to $40 on the button with Queen 7 of heart. Big blind call and we're heads up to a flop of 7-4 deuce all spades. Big blind check. Versus a recreational player, I'm still range betting on monotone flop because they play their flush draw passively. They are under check raise. I bet $40 into 80 and he calls. Turns a 7 of club. Big blind check. Normally on this pairing turn card, I'm betting small, but on this 3 spades board, I think Phelan is still calling a bigger size with his Ace X with the Ace of Spade, King X with the King of Spade, so I bet 125 into 160. He calls. Reverse 9 of club. Big blind check again. I don't think his missed flush draw is calling any size here, so I would like to target Ace 9, King 9, or Queen 9, which were chasing one more spade and now hit a top pair on the river. I bet 250 into 410, and he fold. But I think I got the max value out of this hand versus this type of player, so I am happy with the result. Alright, in this hand, we open to $40 in early position with Ace King offsuit. Hijack call, our recreational player in the cutoff 3-bet to 150. Recreational players are under 3-bet massively, especially versus early positions open, so I think his range is pretty strong here. I think 4-bet or call are both okay in this scenario, but it's the first time I see this Phelan put in a 3-bet, so I like to call and see what happens. The downside of calling here could be giving hijack a pretty good price to come along, but this time he fold and we're heads up to a flop of King 5 4 3 spades. We check it over and cut off check back. Onto the turn, which comes to Jack of club. From his check on the flop, I think we can roll hands from his range like pocket kings or some aces because I often see recreational players c-bet with their overpairs even on a monotone flop. So I believe he has hands like queens, jacks, or tens. And I bet 100 into 350, targeting under pairs, and he calls. Reverse is 7 of heart. Nothing really changed on the board. The pot is now 550. If we want to fold out queens, I think betting about 400 to 450 is pretty good. So I would like to size down to get a call from that bucket. I go 250. He makes a call saying it may be a donation. We show our hand and we are good against Ace Jack. Let's continue. A recreational player in the low jack opens to 30 with 3-bet to $100 with 8-7 of spade in the hijack. Low jack call and we're heads up to a flop of Ace Jack deuce rainbow. Pretty good flop for us as an aggressor. I do a range bet here. 70 into 210 and low jack calls and turns a 6 of spade. We have the backdoor flush draw now. Low jack checks. I think betting small to keep all straight draws, jack X, ace X, versus betting big to fold everything except ace X, jack X of spade are both fine. I choose the bigger size here because our equity is higher. I bet 250 into 350, leaving us a chunkier river bet to possibly fold out ace X on the river. Surprisingly, low jack check raised to 500. He can only have sets or 2 pairs raising here, but he's given us a very good price to call. I don't think we have any other option but to continue. River's a king of club. He bets a quarter pot. 330 into 1,350. This player is never bluffing, never folding to a shove, so we can only fold here with our 8 high. And he shows us pocket deuces. In this hand, a recreational player opens to $30 in early position. We look down at my 2 queens in the low jack and 3-bet to 100. A regular in the hijack 4-bet to 230. EP fold. Already not loving this because our range is so strong, 3-betting early position and he still puts in a 4-bet, which I believe he only has aces, kings, or ace king. But I like his 4-bet size and we're going in there to play a 4-bet pot. Flop comes 6-3 deuce rainbow. We check, he bet 325 into 500. A pretty big c-bet size for a 4-bet pot, but I decide to call once because I think if he's bluffing with ace-king, it's gonna be one and done when he chooses this big size on the flop. Turns a 6 of diamond. We check, and it goes all in, betting 1045 into 1150. Let us put the whole story together. From his small pre-flop 4-bet size, he wants us to call so bad. And in post-flop, he is so eager to put the money in as soon as possible. I think this line is just giving away that he has aces or kings. I like to fold our queens here. talking to feeling that he's being too greedy on the flop, trying to get some info from him. And his face turns super red right away. I think it's a good sign that we have saved ourselves some money. Some people may say, hey, you already called a 4-bet. There is no ace or king on the board, so you shouldn't fold your overpairs. I don't agree with that. Our decisions are all based on their range, and their actions and betting size reveals their range if you pay enough attention. Second last hand of the session, Strato is on, a recreational player in the cutoff opens to 30. I think he doesn't know there's a straddle, but anyway, we got JJ Barea in the small blind and we 3-bet to 155. Cutoff call and we heads up to a flop of 9-6 deals with 2 spades. In the 3-bet pot out of position as pre-flop raiser, I would like to rain check when I think the board is likely to be stepped, especially on this wet dynamic board. I check, looking to do a check raise if he bets small, and he check back. Turns a 3 off club. I check again, because I think now he's going to step with his air, or backdoor flush draw, or some showdown value that want to deny my 2 overcards equity, but he checked back again. Rivers an 8 off heart. From his action, I think he has showdown value hands as many of his air will start stepping the turn when we check to them twice, so I asked the inverse question. How much would I bet to fold hands like pocket 7s, pocket 5s, or 6x? I would probably bet pot here. So I size down and bet 200 into 335, targeting 1 pair type hand. But he finds the fold.
It's coaching time.
Okay, so what happened in this hand is you raise, he calls, we check on the flop, which is fine. Now the turn is a 3, and you elect to check again. I don't know how deep this guy starts a hand, but it looks like to me, probably got like 900, 1,000 here, maybe? So we could just go pot on the turn, less than pot on the river, and get all the money in.
Do we still want to check the flop?
It's like checking is still good because it allows us on a wet dynamic board to play a 1 or 2 street game before the nuts change. But once he checks back on the flop and he's capped, I wouldn't check again on the turn at this SPR because we can get in all the money by just going pot on the turn, 2/3 pot on the river. I'd say in a single raise pot, SPR super high, checking on the turn really, really good because we need the check raise to get in all the money. In a 3-bet pot, where the SPR here is only like 3, we don't need the check raise on the turn to get in all the money. Once the flop goes check, they don't stab the turn as much in a 3-bet pot as they do in a single raise pot because the pot's bigger, it's more ballooned, they're more scared, they're more passive. Makes sense?
It's all about SPR. Big pot alert. Hello. Last hand of the session. Strato's on, a recreational player in the low jack opens to 50. We are on a small blind with jack 10 of spade. Because this play opened way too loose and wide pre-flop, I like to 3-bet this hand. Taking down pre-flop or heads up with low jack is both fine to me, but now big blind cold call. Low jack comes along and we are 3 ways to a flop which comes ace, king, 6, monotone, 3 spades. Look at the sweet baby there. We have the second nuts. I think going bet here is better because we can easily stack off by betting ourselves with this SPR and don't need to do a check raise which may generate some fold equity. But in game, I like to check, big blind check, and low jack bets 300 into 640. I think he can have flushes, some strong ace-X like ace-queen with the queen of spade. I don't think he would fold his hand when we raise, but I'm being a little bit greedy because I want big blind to call here if he has ace-X too. But big blind fold, and we are heads up to the turn which comes another ace of diamond. We check, low jack check back, rivers and deals off hard, the blankest blank. I don't think low jack has an ace now because I believe he would keep betting his trips on the turn. The reason he checked back the turn because he was afraid of ace king, and I would like to target his flushes here. Pot is 1247, we got about 1,000 behind. How much would I bet to fold a flush? I don't think a flush is folding here even if we shove, so we put the money in, hoping to see a tank call. We show our hand, and he tables queen 7 of spade. We lose a 3.2k pot to the nut flush and end this session tragically. Hey guys, just finished the first session, which nothing goes on our way. We lost 2,500 in 6 hours, and this is a part of poker. We gotta live with it. Anyway, Marco will put my result here. Thank you, Marco. I gotta have some rest now. Take care, guys. See you in the next session. First hand of the second session, an aggressive recreational player opens to 55 in the low jack. We defend the big blind with queen 10 of spade. Heads up to a flop which comes queen 8-6 with 2 spades. Pretty good flop for us. We have the top pair with flush draw. We check, low jack bets 100 into 110. It's a pretty big bet here, not much reason for us to raise, and we proceed with a call. Turns a 4 off heart. We check, he bets 200 into 310. I think his range consists of sets, over pairs, queen eggs, or draws. Our hands is still an easy call, and we continue to the river which comes a deuce off diamond. We check, he check back, we are good, and I'm happy to take down the first pot of the day. Second hand here, cutoff opens to 35. We look down at pocket kings on the small blind and we 3-bet to 155. Cutoff call and we heads up to a flop of 8-6-6 rainbow. Normally in a 3-bet pot out of position, I would check my range, but this flop is pretty dry. I think going for a check raise may generate too much fold equity, which I don't really like in this scenario. And I can stack off by going bet with our SPR left. I bet 200s into 315, targeting pocket pairs like jacks, tens, etc. Cutoff calls and turns a beautiful 3 of diamond. I don't think he is folding his overpairs here to a reasonable size. I bet 450 into 715, leaving about a half pot bet on the river. Unfortunate for us, cutoff folds. Maybe a little bit too big for the size. 350-ish may be better, but I'm happy with my thought process throughout the hand. This hand is a fun one. We opened $40 in hijack with king 10 offsuit. Cutoff calls and we heads up to a flop of king 10-3 rainbow. Pretty good flop for us. We check to the cutoff and he bets 35. Now I'm going for the big boy check raise to 250, targeting his king x a queen jack to call. Cutoff calls and turns an ace. Really bad card for us because king x is not calling a big size and queen jack gets there. We check and cutoff check back. River's a 4 of spade, a blanky blank. He never has a straight here because he checked back the turn, so I would like to choose a size to target hands like king queen or king jack. I think 200 is the best size, but in game I bet 400. Now the cutoff starts complaining and show king 10 as well. You can't believe this, but he tanks and makes the fold. We shows our hand, and sometimes our mistake may lead to the best outcome. Next hand here, we find the worst hand in poker. Pocket aces and we open to $40 under the gun. Low jack 3-bet to 100. Actions back to us and we put in a 4-bet to 300. Low jack calls and we heads up to a flop of king 10-7 with 2 hearts. I go a quarter pot here, betting 150 into 610. Low jack calls, turns a 6 of diamond. Now I want to target hands that can stack off with me like ace king, king queen, and I go 600 into 910. I think it's a mistake here because I went too big. I can bet about 450 and there's only a half pot bet left on the river. He may still find a call with queens if I chose the half pot size. I don't like the size I chose and he doesn't like it neither. He folds and I went to the bathroom, washing my face and keeping in mind that how careless I was. In this hand, EP and button limp, I find my 2 queens on the big blind and raise to 85. EP fold, button call, and we heads up to a flop of ace-7-7 rainbow. In single raise pot out of position, I would check my range because recreational players telegraph their hand strength by the sizing. We check, button bet 200 into 180. Actually, I think I should fold my hand here right away because he chose a huge size, but I'm dumb and stubborn. I made the call. And turns a queen! No, it's a deuce of club. We check, but I bet 400 into 580. I believe he only has ace-6 or trips here, and we fold. They always have the strong hands when they choose the huge size, and we can save a lot of money when we can make the disciplined fold. Next hand here, we open the $40 in a cutoff with 10-8 of spade. Big blind calls and we heads up to a flop of ace-5-4 with a couple of diamonds. Big blind check. In a single raise pot in position on ace-high flop, my strategy is to overbet or check. Our hand doesn't fall into the overbet category and we check back. Turns a king of spade, giving us a backdoor flush draw. Big blind bets 30 into 80. Not much reason to raise here, price are good and we call. Reverse a deuce of spade, we hit the flush. Big blind bets half pot, 75 into 140. I think he can have straight, set, 2 pairs here, and a raise to 350 because this feeling is quite non-believing, but this time he finds the fold. Blunder alert. In this hand, under the gun limps a splashy, aggressive recreational player ISO to 125 in early position. He is opening to about 10x with any hands he wants to play, so there is not much sizing tail from him. A tight regular in the small blind calls. We find JJ Barea on the big blind and we 3-bet to 450. Under the gun fold. The recreational player in the early position call, and now the reg on the small blind shoves all in, about $1,500. At that time, I don't really have a clear clue on what small blind has. I feel like I'm getting trapped by aces or kings because it's so weird. I made the fold, EP folds as well. And after that, I think I understand what small blind is thinking. I believe small blind doesn't want to 3-bet his ace-king out of position because he knows EP gonna call his 3-bet nearly all the time. And if he doesn't hit his ace or king on the flop, it's very hard to play against a splashy aggressive player who has every hand in his range. That's why he was calling the 125 at first, trying to play passively with his ace-king. But after I put in the 3-bet and EP calls, the pot is now so big. He can shove his ace-king now, guarantee that he can see 5 cards, realizing all his equity. So I believe I made a really bad fold here. Next hand here, we open the $40 in the low jack with king jack of heart. Cutoff call, the aggressive recreational player on the button 3-bet to 150. Big blind cold calls. Price is pretty good here, we call. Cutoff come along and we are 4 ways till flop, which comes queen 10-7 with a couple of clubs. Check all the way to the button who bets 535 into 600. Big blind fold, actions on us. Although we have an open end draw, I don't think calling is good because if we miss the draw on the turn, we are very likely to be put all in, so we are only seeing 1 card. How about shoving? I don't think I have any fold equity when he chooses this big size in a multi-way. It will just be a gamble play to me and I don't really like that. So I like to fold here. And please let me know in the comment section what you're gonna do when you face this kind of size with our hand. Big pot alert. Hello. Our recreational player in the hijack opens to 30. We 3-bet to $100 on the button with jack 10 of spade. Hijack call and we're heads up to a flop of jack 8-4 rainbow. Hijack donks pot here. I think in a 3-bet pot, when Phelan chooses this big donk size, he's representing a strong range. He can have hands like ace jack, king jack, occasionally some sets like pocket 8s, but also I think he may donk with open and straight draw, which is 10-9 here. We have a top pair and we call. Turns a 10 of diamond. We made the 2 pairs. Hijack now checks. Maybe he has some showdown value with his draws now. His 10-9 hit a pair. In game I bet small. 200 into 630. Didn't really think clearly we can make him put all the money in the middle with his inelastic hands. Anyways, he calls and rivers a 7 of diamond. Now hijacks all in $500 into 1,000. I don't love to see it, but it's only a half pot bet. I close my eyes and make the dumb call. And I hear the beautiful word that he says. I missed. We fast roll and show our hand, taking down this 2k pot. I don't really know what hands can he miss playing this way, but I'll let him keep this mystery to himself.
It's coaching time.
All right, so in this one, this guy donks for pot and then checks the turn when we bink top 2 pair. What's his range when he donks the flop for pot and then checks the turn?
When he check, I think he has some showdown value plus draws like 10-9.
Might he still have like
Queen
Jack X?
Yeah, Queen Jack.
How much you betting here to get a hand like Queen Jack or King Jack or 10-9 to fold?
Actually, I have thought of going all in.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think just jamming here is really good. There's only 700 behind, pot 630. I think you just jam the turn. Getting all the money right. Like, I don't think Jack X is folding. I don't think 8-9, 10-9 is folding, right? You ended up getting it, but scary river to call it off when he just donk jams the river, right? Just put it in.
Let's continue. Buttons open to 35. We look down at pocket kings on the big blind and we 3-bet to 185. Button calls and we heads up to a flop of ace-6-3 with a couple of spades. In a 3-bet pot out of the position, normally I'm checking my range. Also, I don't think our hand is good to bet on this ace-high flop, so we check and button check back. Turns another ace of diamond. From his check on the flop, I don't think he has an ace. And now I want to bet, targeting hands like flush draws and pocket pairs. I bet 100 into 370. Button calls and rivers a 9 of diamond. I still want to capture some more value from pocket jacks, pocket tens, this kind of hands. I bet 200 into 570. But he finds the fold. On the next hand, we open to $40 in the low jack with ace-jack offsuit. Big blind calls and we heads up to a flop of queen-5 deuce with a couple of diamonds. Big blind check. In a single ace pot in position, I'm range betting against recreational players. Incentivize them to raise with their strong hands and call with their weak hand. We bet 40 into 80. Big blind calls. Turns a 4 of spade. Big blind check. I think our hand has some showdown value here versus his flush draw. So we check back and evaluate the river. River's a 10 of diamond, completing the front door flush. Big blind check to us again. I think when turns go check check, if villain hits a flush on the river, he's going to lead 99.9% of the time. So his range now is queen X, some pocket pairs. So if somehow we have a flush here, I would like to bet 125, targeting queen X to call. So I like to size up, overbet 250 into 160, going for a range fold. He folds and we get it through. In this hand, we open to $40 on the button with Jack 5 of spade. Big blind call and we heads up to a flop of King Jack 6 rainbow. Big blind checks, I bet $40 into 80 and big blind calls. Turns a king of diamond. Big blind checks, I would like to check back our showdown value on this turn and act accordingly to villain's action on the river. And river's a 3 of heart. Big blind lists $110 into 160. Normally when villain choose this 2/3 size, they have it. But for this villain, I've seen him bluffing with this size also. I think he can have ace 10, queen 10, 10-9 as bluffs. So I put in a call, he shows queen 10, and we are good. Blunder alert. We move to another table because the previous one is breaking. And in this hand, cutoff open to $30. We are on the big blind with Jack 5 of diamond and we call. Heads up to a flop of 8-6 deuce rainbow. And the flop goes check through. Turns a 7 of diamond. We now have an open hand straight draw. I think when cutoff check back on the flop, we can rule out over pairs, top pairs, or sets from his range. He can have ace high, flush draws, pocket 5, pocket 4s on this turn. I think the best game plan here is to bet small to let him call once. If we miss on the river, we can go massive to fold them out. If we hit our straight on the river, we go smaller to get a call. But in game, I messed up. I bet $100 into 60 on the turn. I want to fold out under pairs right away. But actually, we don't need to. Anyway, he calls and rivers a 4 of spade. We hit our straight. We shouldn't go back here because his range is so weak, but as you know, I make a blunder again by going 2x pot, betting 500 into 260. Of course he fold, and I played it so bad.
It's coaching time.
So So in this one, we defend in the big blind, checks through on the flop, and then we lead on the turn. Do we need to bet? Like he opened to the cutoff here, not from early position, so he can have a wider range. If he has a hand like 6x or pocket 5s or 4s or something, and we check again on the turn, what's he most likely going to do?
Yeah, he's betting.
If he has a backdoor flush draw, what's he going to do if we check?
Yeah, he bets.
So if he bets and we check raise, well, we get all of the 6x, the pocket 4s, the 3s, all that stuff to fold. And if he's got a backdoor flush draw, well, shit, diamond's probably not coming, and we get him to fold on the river. And if we check on the turn and he checks back, we just get to realize our equity for free. If we miss on the river, we just bet the size to get ace high to fold. And if we bink on the river, we just bet very, very tiny to get ace high to call.
If we have a hand here like 8-7, do we want to bet because check raise generate too much fold equity?
I may actually go for the check raise with 8-7 again.
With a
Because
smaller
I think
size?
I think I may choose the same size here though. Whether we have value or whether we have a bluff, the goal is on the turn to get him to call. And then our goal split on the river. With the bluff, obviously we want him to fold on the river, and with the value, we want him to call on the river. If the turn goes check, check, and we have 8-7, we're not really like he just has ace high. What are we losing from ace high? Like $20 that he would have called or something? Like who cares? Go for the check raise to try to play against the top of his range, like pocket 5s or something that's not folding on this turn.
Second last hand of the session. We opened the $30 in the hijack with King 10 offsuit, button call, and we're heads up to a flop of King 5-3 rainbow. In a single raise pot out of position, I would like to range check when the board is likely to be stacked, but on this dry king high flop, I overestimate the likelihood of this flop getting stacked and it goes check check. Turns a 4 of spade. As played, we check again because I think Phelan will now start betting his air or showdown value when we check to him twice. He bet $50 into 70 and we call with our top pair. River's a 4 of heart. We check, button bets 75 into 170. So what is range? I don't think he has a better king because he checked back the flop. I don't think he has a very strong hand because of the size, so I think it's either bluff or some weak hands like pocket 10s, pocket 9s, and I elect to min click here to 150, looking for a call from those hands. He calls, we tables our hand, and he shows 4-3 of club. He just called our min raise with a full house. Thanks man, you are a really nice guy. Alright, last hand of the session. We opened the $30 in the low jack with ace-8 of club. Big blind call, and we're heads up to a flop of ace-9 deuce with a couple of heart. Big blind checks, our kicker is not that big, so I like to check back. Turns another ace of spade. Big blind check. I think players are generally non-believing when we check back the flop and try to represent trips, so I overbet here, going 100 into 60. Surprisingly, he puts in a 4x raise to 400. It's never bluff, but maybe he's doing this with worse value. We show weakness on the flop and I would like to continue here. River's a jack of club. He now bets 900 into 860. After we call the turn, we are telling him that we at least have trips, so I think he's not betting his weak ace-6 here. His range is so strong. I showed him my ace, eventually putting our hands into the mug, and he shows us pocket 9s. And we end the session here at Commerce with a good laydown. For now, comparing the Commerce game to the games back in Macau, 1. Games are pretty soft, not that many good pros at 5-10. 2. Recreational players are more gambly sometimes, but in general they are more passive and easy to play with. 3. Rec is relatively low, so I would give the games a B+ at Commerce. Alright, in this last session we're up $150 in 8 hours. And here is my overall result at Commerce Casino with all the sessions I played. As you see, I won 9400s for about $140 per hour. So pretty good, on pace so far to make that 10k a month. Next, we're moving on to Hustler for the coming sessions. Thank you guys for watching, I hope you enjoy, stay tuned.